Just play the games. They're way better. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Uncharted review. And as you could probably read from the title, it's not going to be a fun one because this movie was absolute garbaggio, but we will get to that in a few minutes. First, I will talk about the plot, and then why this movie is complete and utter garbage, so stay tuned. So, way back in Flashback Land, Nathan and his brother Sam are looking for Magellan's treasure for some reason, and they get instantly caught trying to steal something, and then Sam gives Nathan a ring, and then he's like, alright, peace out, bye, I'm out of the movie, and leaves. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Magellan, because if I remember correctly, he was the first person to circumnavigate the globe, but there was nothing about him in the history books about him having a treasure. I'm pretty sure. So, this movie's some nonsense is what I'm saying. Then, like 10 years later, Tom Holland plays Nathan Drake, and he's working as a bartender stealing stuff because reasons. You gotta live off of something. And then he meets Sully, played by Mark Wahlberg. Okay. I'll get into why this is a very stupid decision later on. Stay tuned. Anyway, they decide to work together because Sully's just like, yo, I met your brother, and, we should hook up and be homies and stuff and go look for him and the treasure. And Nate's just like, okay. You see, I did the baby voice because Tom Holland is a baby. So Nate and Sully go to this one rich dude's party. He is being played by Antonio Banderas, and they are there to steal a cross. And then basically the heist scene from Uncharted 4 happens. So, yeah. So Nate and Scully travel to Barcelona because of reasons to try to find the treasure. And there, they meet Chloe. And then some shenanigans happen until Chloe and Nathan decide to work together. Then we see Antonio Banderas shoot his dad in the face because he's a bit of a dick. After that, Nathan and Chloe go into a crypt, and there they find some secret passage because of course they do. And then in that secret passage they find that they need to go to the Philippines because these movies are never that simple. And then Chloe turns out to be a bit of a bastardo because she betrays Nathan. So after that, Antonio Banderas' character gets shot in the face, and now we're stuck with this like garbage ass villain as a replacement. But you know what, whatever, you do you, movie. Anyway, then that scene from Uncharted 3 happens with the plane, and it is so much lamer as a movie than it is as a video game. I'll talk about that in a sec. So Nate arrives in the Philippines, and he discovers where the treasure is because Sam left him some postcards or something. I don't know, it's some nonsense. Anyway, so eventually Nathan finds the Magellan ships, which are like shipwrecked there, and everybody's celebrating until our villain, whose name I don't remember, arrives and just begins to airlift them into the air with like helicopters and crap. So at this point, a whole bunch of CGI crap happens. I'm not even going to describe it. It's just a whole bunch of computers doing stuff. So hope you like that instead of practical effects, because that's all you're getting. Anyway, our main villain, whatever her name is, gets stuck under a ship and dies. And then everybody escapes and he lives happily ever after. That's it. That's the end of the movie. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's talk about why this movie is absolute garbage. First of all, it's a movie that's based on a game. And those games are based off of classic movies like Indiana Jones and National Treasure and all those other treasure hunting movies from like the 30s. So what is the point of making it? Because if you guys don't know, if you've never played Uncharted, they are very, very, very cinematic games. Like, you play through those games, the point of those games was to make you feel like you're playing an actual movie. So when you turn it into a movie, it loses a lot of, player input. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything. You just feel like you sit there. So ultimately, it just feels like you're watching like a garbage like movie in the end of the day. Because if you're watching something like Indiana Jones, which has like practical effects, you feel excited. You're just like, oh yeah, is he gonna survive? What's gonna happen next? Here I'm just like, Oh, for crap's sake, it's just CGI all over the place. Who cares? Especially during the third act, because that was some nonsense. But these types of sequences can work in games because, you know what? You're actually playing the games. You know, that's the difference. But as a movie, it just doesn't work. They should have come up with something better, something else. For example, the airplane sequence in the movie. It's it's exactly the same as in Uncharted 3, where Nate gets thrown out of the cockpit, or not cockpit, but the airplane, and he has to climb his way back in, and it's literally the exact same. But when you're watching the movie, it's kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever. It just looks kind of like, who cares? This looks like garbage. But when you're playing it, it feels exhilarating. It feels exciting because you're actually doing this stuff. This movie just feels like a straight-to-DVD film from like the early 2000s, just with a bigger budget. There, I said it. Now, let's talk about the casting. Yep. So the only casting choice that I kind of like is Antonio Banderas as the villain. What kind of sucks about that is the fact that he gets shot in the face like halfway through, and then we're left with nothing. Everybody else sucks. I mean, when they first cast Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, I was like, ooh, I don't know about all that. Ooh, still don't. I still don't like it. Although if I kind of squint at it at an angle, I can maybe kind of see it. But whoever cast Mark Wahlberg as Sully, bro, were you high? What is wrong with you? You're really gonna cast this guy as Sully?
What? No.
And don't get me wrong, the cast, they are trying to make something out of this movie, but the dialogue is so freaking generic. Like, oh my goodness, you've seen this movie. This is a very, very generic movie, as I said. This movie feels like it should have come out like 20, 30 years ago. The dialogue is that generic. There's a lot of as you knows and just a whole bunch of like crappy one-liners that they would have been embarrassed to use in the 80s. So that's the movie you get into. What I absolutely hate about this movie, or another thing, is the fact that they just keep throwing like random parts of the games in there with no rhyme or reason. Like, they basically stole the entire plot of Uncharted 4 with Nate's brother and all that. Throw that in there for no reason. They took the airplane scene from Uncharted 3, throw that in there for no reason. Like, what are you doing? What is this supposed to be? Like, are you trying to adapt the games, or are you trying to make your own story? Because they're sort of like throwing everything into a pot and be like, I don't know what comes out, whatever, who cares? Like, put some effort into it. I don't know, guys. Write an actual script. And you know what's the worst part about this? What feels like the absolute worst to me is that they already made a fan film. Some dude with like no budget, he put up a film with Nathan Fillion playing Nathan Drake, and it was the best Uncharted movie I could have asked for. It's like 15 minutes long for free on YouTube. Go look it up. It's amazing. Just watch that instead. It's legitimately way better than this movie could ever be. And that's pretty sad, but true. Now, is this the worst movie ever made? No, it's not. Hell, it's not even the worst video game movie ever made. There are a lot worse. This is not a great genre to go into, guys. But, still, it could have been better. Could have had a Detective Pikachu on your hands. But, you know, it's no Sonic.
You serious?
But yeah, that's it for me, guys. If you guys like very mediocre action films, well, this is it for you, I guess. Good luck. Bye.